You join me with the Sahara Multimedia PC Extreme. So this is basically a socket 775 machine that I built in an old case. This is what it looks like right after I got it. Just popped the motherboard in there with an old 2.5-inch hard drive just to boot everything up and see how it works. The hard drive is still in a protective rubber casing. The first order of business, I thought it would be cool to try out RAID, as I never had a RAID set up before. So I got 3 drives, and the idea was just to see how far I can get with RAID and how it would perform. This motherboard only has SATA 2, so that's 3 gigabits or 300 megabyte a second per connector, 6 connectors. So we'll see how these 3 drives run if we put them in RAID 0 stripe mode, so it'll write across all drives at the same time and read from them at the same time. Wow, look at the cable management on that. So gorgeous. Yay. So the BIOS renders very slowly for some reason. I think it has to do with the fact that it can redirect across the LAN. Here is our SATA configuration, and I'm changing it to RAID. I tried Intel matrix storage, that was terrible. This is the LSI ROM. The RAID can run with 2 different ROMs, either Intel storage matrix or LSI, and I found this LSI one to be very good. So I'm creating my span volume 1. It's RAID 0, that's the only option we have. And we are going to initialize our array. Now it's time to tidy up this mess as best as I can. It's going to be a pretty interesting task considering we've got 3 SATA wires, but that is not the most that we have in here. It gets better. Nice little diagnostics LED there at the back. And the hard drive reads just fine. Let's take a look at it in all its glory. Oh, the floppy drive's not connected yet. We'll get to that. Later on in the process, I decided that why stop at 3 when you can have 4? So this is Macrim Reflect, the PE edition, the pre whatever that stands for. So you write this to a flash drive and then you boot up with it, and I'm going to image my C drive, the RAID that spans across 3 disks, right back to the flash drive, and then restore it once I've built a new RAID using 4 disks. This process ran pretty fast considering we're limited to USB 2.0 on this board. However, we've got a very nice and convenient onboard USB port, which I think is a server thing. Pretty decent transfer rate right there. Nice. Let's shut this down and add another drive. Right, time to clear our old configuration, create a new one. The reason why I imaged it is it was running Windows 10 and I really wasn't feeling like reinstalling everything. So now we've got our 4 disks, just over 300 gigabyte. These are 80 gigabyte drives from Western Digital. Right, let's restore that image we made to the flash drive to our new array, Intel Mega SR. Not a huge Intel fan, by the way, but this was a lot of fun. And it was in 3 different image files because they were like each 4 gigabyte, because FAT32, that's why. You can see there's the additional space the size of one of the drives, and we're just going to extend the volume we had on there. Excellent. Here is a benchmark running on 3 disks, and here it is on 4. Not a big improvement, still not hitting the nowhere near the 300 megabit or megabyte transfer rate that one SATA 2 port can offer, but yeah. So this motherboard has 6 SATA ports, and I figured let's use up the other 2 with, why not, optical discs. They seem to be period correct, so let's just plop them in there. Have to undo our beautiful cable management and redo it. However, at this stage, at the next boot, disaster struck. The machine would not boot, and I did a BIOS reset, and then it became completely unresponsive. No matter what keys I would hit, it would not respond, and I thought all hope was lost. Then after a week, it struck me that I was using a USB keyboard, and what if something's wrong with the USB controller? So I bought this very cheap and flexible, not supposed to be flexible, PS2 keyboard to see if maybe if I run inputs at a lower level of PS2, maybe I'll have some results. Yay! I can finally enter setup. And this is where we see what happened. When you clear the BIOS on these Intel boards, it disables everything. LAN, SATA, it even disabled the USB controller, which is pretty dumb, considering people might be using USB keyboards, or then again, maybe those people are just dumb, that being me. The RAM that the board came with was 2 GB. I am going to up it to 4. Could have gone with 8, but I don't want to dump too much money into this thing, so I just ordered 2 more 2 GB sticks. All our drives are picked up, all the ports used, and we've got 4 GB. So at this stage, I am going to upgrade the CPU. We were running a dual-core Core 2 Duo, and I found a very cheap Xeon. This thing can go up to the 3300 series. So I bought the cheapest 3300 series Xeon processor I could find, that being the X3330, so 3330 quad-core 2.6 GHz with 6 megabyte cache. To cool it, I'm going to use a server cooler. That is why we're removing this board, because that cooler requires a retention bracket. So we're removing the stock LGA 775 cooler, cleaning it up with a wet wipe, because I mean that's what the professionals do. Also cleaning the bottom of the cooler. Ouchie plops. And whoops, oh, dropped it onto the carpet. There is our Xeon processor. This is the holes in the motherboard. That is the retention bracket at the bottom of this cooler. You may remember this cooler from the previous NCR computer build. It is that exact cooler. Healthy little plop of heat paste there. Tried to make the Ryzen logo. I failed. and on goes our cooler. Ee-oh, ee-oh, ee-oh. I'm not lady fractic, so I should probably not try doing that. Nice and secure. Just moving the board into place and fastening it with one screw using my thumb. No, just kidding, I fastened it properly. Let's boot it and see if this sucker runs. Now the fan in here is extremely loud. I was not bargaining on that, and the PWM did not seem to kick in. So I reverted to the older fan, but yes, there we go. There's our Xeon. Looking fine. Because this board is limited to USB 2, I added a USB 3 card with 4 ports, and being a server board with no sound, I added in a very cheap sound card. I remember I had a sound card like this way back, this C Media type thing. Okay, in the spirit of upgrading, we're skipping ahead a few days. The whole RAID array was yanked out, and I bought a very cheap SSD to see how that will affect performance. I also in the meanwhile wired up that floppy drive, because why have a floppy drive if you're not going to use it? 1.4 megabyte is 1.4 megabyte. F2, F's in the chat. Okay, this is our drive setup currently. I'm going to change it to AHCI since I no longer need RAID. And in the spirit of upgrades, I should really stop doing that. A new cooler. It was running way too hot on the stock LGA cooler, and that server one was just too loud. So I got the cheapest LGA 775 aftermarket cooler I could get, that being this Cooler Master Hyper TX Evo. And from the looks of it, it uses the built-in board retention mechanism. Oh yeah, peeling it off so nice. So this attaches to the board just like any 775 cooler, no need for a retention bracket at the back. So let's shut it down and fit our new cooler. Bye bye. Again, cleaning like the pros, although this time we will dry it. Oh, I'm so wet. Much better. A little bit less heat base this time, and on she goes. I did have some issues securing it. You should remove the fan first, ideally, but we got there in the end. There we go, that is a sturdy fit. And back on the fan clips. Finally. This is a very secure fit. So let's boot it up again. This fan runs loud, it runs at full power. I can't find any fan settings, but it's a lot better than what we had. And our floppy drive works. CPU is running around 44 megahertz, so I added a GeForce 8400 GS just for the fun of it. Let's see how this thing runs Xenotic.
Prepare for battle. 5, 4.
Sorry for the terrible sound. I'm holding the headphone like right next to the fan. So running 60, dropping down to mid 30s. This is 800 by 600 low settings. But considering the cheap graphics card and the age of this machine, it's not that terrible. And with not that terrible, speaking of terrible, my gameplay on this is really terrible. Let's run it in time demo mode and see if it runs at the fastest it can, what kind of frame rates we get. So we're getting minimum 39, max 104, and currently running at 66. Not too bad. So this is what it looked like with our 4 disks. If you remember, here we've got the SSD, huge improvement. It really was a lot of fun building this machine. It came in at just under 2,000 Rand, so I'm very thankful for that. And I'm also thankful for you watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I can stop building PCs now, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a next one.